Hey there, welcome back to Lunch Bunch and to the conclusion of The Stars at the Finish Line by Wendy Mass from this collection called Geektastic. So we're going to see if Tabitha and Petra are able to complete the marathon of looking at 110 night sky objects. After returning to the scope and finding the last few early setting objects, we take a break before embarking on the next round. I set up Tabitha's go-to while she munches on a carrot. I'm holding my red flashlight with my teeth to free up my hands and to give myself an excuse for not talking. I can't believe I thought she wanted me to kiss her. What was I thinking? I'm not the girl girls want to kiss. I'm the girl they want to copy homework off of. My mother once told me I would come into my own in college. I hope she's right, because it's no fun pining away for someone who would never be interested in you. Right now, it would be a whole lot easier if that someone wasn't right next to me in the dark. I stall a little longer by attaching my camera to my scope. Focusing on the North Star, I set the lens to f8, the ISO to 100, and open the shutter for a long exposure. The longer we stay here not talking, the more I just want to crawl into a hole. I need a break. I pick out a set of star charts and hand them to Tabitha. Here's the information you'll need to enter. Just type in the coordinates listed next to each object and your scope will find them. She looks down at the pages in her hand. What are you going to be doing? I glance around helplessly. I'm going to see if anyone needs help. I'm the youth advisor, after all. She can't argue with that. She waves the charts in the air. But then you won't be able to do the marathon. I shrug. It's okay. I'll do it next year. I turn away before she makes me change my mind. I feel slightly guilty. It's not Tabitha's fault that she doesn't feel the same way about me as I feel about her. She calls after me. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. I take a deep breath and keep walking. Of course she'll be fine. She's always fine. She knows exactly who she is, what she wants to be, and what she needs to do to get there. I don't know any of those things. All I know is what I don't want to be, and that's not the same thing at all. I see groups of club members huddled behind their scopes, but instead of stopping, I walk right past them. I walk past the break tent, past the scouts who somehow managed to get pizza delivered in the middle of a desert. I debate going back to get one of my sandwiches, but I don't want to risk a confrontation. When I get away from most of the crowd, I lie down on the hard ground. It's been getting progressively colder since the sun set a few hours ago. I wish I had put my warm clothes on. I stare up at the sky, so familiar to me. Turning to the western horizon, I easily find Venus, the evening star, the brightest in the sky. Tabitha is like Venus. She has this presence that's brighter than everyone else's. Soon Jupiter will rise, surrounded by its moons of ice that could hold the building blocks of life. If Tabitha is Venus, I'm like Europa, a big ball of ice that might have a few surprises inside me, if anyone bothered to look. I close my eyes and try to imagine I can feel the turning of the earth beneath me. Hey, a voice says softly, kicking my toe. I quickly sit up. It's Tabitha. She's holding the blanket, my sweatshirt, and her sleeping bag. When I find my voice, I say, "What are you doing here?" "You can't be away from your post for too long, or..." She shrugs. "I thought you might be cold." "How did you find me?" She points to the binoculars around her neck, then tosses me my sweatshirt and spreads open the blanket. "Room for one more down there?" Without waiting for a response, she lies down. I lie next to her, barely breathing. Then she puts a sleeping bag over both of us. "So," she begins, "tell me a story." "About what?" I ask. "You said you had to learn stories about the stars for your sky puppy pin, right?" For the first time, she doesn't laugh when she says sky puppy. I nod in the dark. "One of those, then." I notice she's using her bunched up sweatshirt as a pillow, so I do the same. "Well, I only remember one of them. It's sort of a poem. I can't tell if the heat radiating through my body is from the sleeping bag or from her nearness." "That's cool," she says. "I like poems." I take a deep breath. It's called The Song of the Stars. It talks about these three hunters, and they're the three stars in the handle of the Big Dipper. See it up there? I point, and a few seconds later she nods. Okay, so the hunters are the handle, and there's a bear too. He's the cup thing at the end of the handle. Then the Milky Way is like a road. That's what you need to know beforehand. She nods again. I take another deep breath and can feel the heat from the side of her body, electrifying my own. Staring upward and trying to focus, I recite. "We are the stars which sing. We sing with our light. We are the birds of fire. We fly over the sky. Our light is a voice. We make a road for the spirits to pass over. Among us are 3 hunters who chase a bear. There never was a time when they were not hunting. We looked down on the mountains. This is the song of the stars. She's so quiet for a minute, I'm afraid she fell asleep. When I get up the nerve to turn my head toward hers, I can see tears silently flowing down her face. The poem's pretty good, but I doubt it's worthy of tears. She hastily wipes them away. Tabitha, what's wrong? She doesn't look at me. Finally, she says, "Do you know why I want to be an astronaut?" Surprised at her question, I reply, "Well, I figured it was something to do with wanting to explore outer space, do experiments, see the space station." She shakes her head. When I was 8 and my parents were fighting all the time and we were moving again, I saw this picture from one of the space shuttles. It was a picture of Earth, seen from space, just a blue and white marble surrounded by blackness. It was that blackness that interested me, that endless nothing. That's why I was never really interested in learning about the stars. They just interrupt the dark. I thought if I could get up there, if I could see the Earth like those astronauts did, if I could see it as it really is, then my problems wouldn't matter. I'd get a true perspective of things. I'd be above everything. But I realized something tonight. If we're looking at the stars, whose light is millions of years old, we're not seeing those stars as they really are. We're seeing them as they were, millions of years ago. I nod and clear my throat. Yeah, that's true. That's why I love taking pictures of the sky so much. It's like taking a snapshot of the past, and of a past that only exists from our exact vantage point. At any other position in time or space, it would look different. It's like taking pictures of ghosts. I've never said anything like that to anyone before. Exactly, she says, leaning up on her elbow to face me. So, my image of Earth isn't real either. Well, it's still real, it's just not the whole picture. Does that matter? She sighs. I'm not sure. Just means I'm gonna have to look at things differently. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Why do you want to be an astronaut? Well, now or never. I don't, I say simply. Her brow wrinkles. You don't what? I meet her gaze. I don't want to be an astronaut. Her eyes almost pop out of her head and she sits bolt upright. Because of what I just said? I don't know what I'm talking about. You can't go by... I smile, sitting up too. No, not because of what you said. I've actually never wanted to be one. I'd much rather take pictures of outer space with my feet planted firmly on the ground. She shakes her head in bewilderment and lies back down. Then why? Why did you work so hard all these years? I glance around us, but no one is close enough to hear. I lie back again. The darkness is complete now, and without a moon, it will be this way for many more hours. The sky is so crowded with stars that it's dizzying. I know they're not the only thing making me dizzy. Under the sleeping bag, Tabitha puts her hand on my arm. Petra, tell me, why did you say you wanted to be an astronaut? She squeezes my arm a little, and I flash back to class the other day when she gripped it so tight. That feels like so long ago. I said it because you did. What? I can't help but smile. If you had said you wanted to be a chimney sweep that day in 4th grade, we might be in a competition to see who could sweep the most chimneys right now instead of lying here. She stares at me like she's never seen me before. I continue. Don't get me wrong, I'm really glad you said astronaut, otherwise I never would have learned about the stars. Plus, I think the ash in chimneys would be really bad for my allergies. She laughs. Then she leans over and kisses me, square on the mouth. No build-up, no time to obsess over where my lips should go or what I should do with my tongue, if anything. No time to even close my eyes. All I can see is her face, her beautiful hair, and thousands of stars behind her. I kiss her back, and I'm surprised at how much this tops anything I could have imagined. My fingers instinctively lace with hers, and we hold on tight. You wouldn't... Her stomach growls and mine growls in return. We both laugh. You wouldn't have any more Charleston chews, would you? I shake my head. I have peanut butter and fluff sandwiches. When we reach our scopes, I go check my camera while Tabitha gets the sandwiches. I set the exposure for 80 minutes, and it had just ended. Flicking on the screen, I called Tabitha over to show her the results. Hundreds of concentric circles made of light. Wow, you're really good. How did you do that? She asks, looking from the screen to the sky overhead and back again. I don't see anything that looks like those streaks of lights. Those are stars. She looks closer, puzzled. How can those streaks be stars? Stars aren't moving like that. Ah, but they are moving like that. We just don't see it because we're moving too. She sighs and steps back. Just one more way that reality tricks us. I shake my head. We'll never have a true picture of reality. It just doesn't exist. But I'm real and you're real. And those fiery balls of gas up there are real. Right now, that's all I need to know. That, and if we hurry, we might be able to catch up to the marathon. We're 2 hours behind, but if we work with both scopes, we might be able to do it. She looks at my camera screen again. Or we can, go back under the sleeping bag and see if we can catch the stars streaking like that. Yeah, let's do that. I awake at 5 a.m. to cries of, M30, M30, hurry, coming from all directions. Tabitha is just waking up too. My first thought is to protect her from my morning breath. My second is that I can't believe I fell asleep next to Tabitha Bell. A bullhorn sounds. Come on, everyone, you're almost at the finish line. Don't give up now. Our eyes meet. She narrows hers. I narrow mine. She grins. I grin back. In unspoken agreement, we throw off the sleeping bag and take off on a run. We may have missed most of the marathon, but we are not going to miss this challenge. I reach my scope first, and I'm glad I had the foresight to put the dew cover on before we left. Tabitha grabs for the star charts and frantically presses buttons on our go-to. I search for Capricornus, and then use the eyepiece to star hop down the chain of stars off to its left. I barely have time to move the scope before the coming dawn obliterates the pattern of stars I just left. I don't think I'm going to make it in time. All over the world, people are looking for M30 right now, and I'm going to miss it. I risk stealing a glance at Tabitha to see her progress. She feigns a yawn and said, Will you hurry up already? Some of us are ready for breakfast. I turn back and peer into my eyepiece again, but I know it's hopeless. My scope just isn't powerful enough to cut through the light. I hold up my hands and surrender. Okay, you win. You found it. I didn't. Want to see it? She asks. I hurry over and put my eye to the rubber eyepiece. Her scope is so powerful, the globular cluster glows, even in the twilight of dawn. I can even make out the colorful double and triple stars that surround the core. Thank you. It's really beautiful, I say, not caring if that sounds corny. I might have to change my opinion of computerized scopes. And who knows, maybe my mom was wrong. Maybe I won't have to wait until college to come into my own. A little later, the man with the bullhorn comes by with a stack of certificates. So, how'd we do? He asks, his magic marker at the ready. We made it to the finish line, Tabitha proudly announces. Wonderful, the man booms. I shake my head at Tabitha admonishingly. She reaches out to stop him before he hands us a certificate. But we missed the 80 objects before it. Ah, he says, tucking the papers back under his arm. Well, I'm sorry it wasn't a more successful night for you. You can always try again tonight if you're not too exhausted. Tabitha whirls around to face me. You mean it's not just once a year? I've been crazed all week when I could have done this later on when I was more prepared? There's a block of a few days when there's no moon out that'll work, I admit, but it wouldn't have bought you much time. Most people chose last night because, well, it was a Saturday night. So, what do you think? The man asks. You up for coming tonight? A bunch of us will be here again. I look at Tabitha. What do you think? She contemplates for a minute and then says, Well, I never did get to see the Ring Nebula. I feel a grin spreading across my face. We'd have to miss school on Monday. We never miss school. But it is for a good cause. Definitely. An educational pursuit, she adds, slipping her hand in mine. And this time, we'd actually complete the marathon, right? Not for our college apps, but just for fun? I smile. Yeah, we'll really do the marathon this time. Well, except for between midnight and 2 when no new objects rise or set. So, you're in, I take it? The man asks warily. We're in. We're definitely in, Tabitha confirms. Teenagers, the man mutters. He shakes his head as he walks to the next group. We turn to each other and laugh. What should we do now? I ask. Tabitha picks up my Star Atlas and settles into one of the beach chairs. I'm going to read this cover to cover, so by tonight I'll be able to teach you something. What are you going to do? I sit down across from her. I'm going to watch you read that cover to cover. I don't think that will be a very exciting use of your time. Oh, yes, it will, I argue. Whatever you want, she says with a shrug, and opens the first page. For the next 4 hours, I watch her face. as she teaches herself thousands of years of astronomical history. I watch as the patterns of the stars take up residence inside her head. When she turns the last page, she pushes the book into my hands. "Thank you, Petra," she says so earnestly, I want to scoop her up and run around the field with her. So I do. The end. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye!